Hello and welcome everybody to Yɛllɛ Conversations Worth Bringing Home. I'm filmmaker Arthur Musah, and today I have the honor of having a conversation with two pretty cool people. I'm joined by Tolu Alabi and Philip Abel Adama, co-founders of Cleva. Cleva is a financial platform built for freelancers, creators, and small businesses across Africa to enable them to receive and hold dollar payments, a response to a reality many young Africans know intimately: currency volatility, depreciation, and the constant work of protecting the value of your labor. 2.5 years after they launched, they have over 700,000 customers in Nigeria and have plans to expand to other countries. Tolu and Philip are both Nigerian, and like many of the people I followed in my films, they came to the United States as international students, carrying ambition, pressure, and complicated questions about where to build a life and what it means to give back. Tolu is Cleva's CEO. She studied computer science and mathematics at Grinnell College, earned an MBA at Stanford, and before Cleva helped build products at Stripe and Amazon. What stands out to me is not just where she's worked or studied, but how clearly she thinks about responsibility and long-term impact. Philip is Cleva's CTO. He studied computer science at MIT and earned his master's at Georgia Tech and worked as a software engineer at AWS, Twilio, and Akamai. Years ago, I had the chance to document a chapter of his life in brief, tender light, following him and others as they wrestled with questions of belonging, movement, and how knowledge travels back home. Welcome, Tolu and Philip, to Yɛllɛ.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hello. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having us, Arthur. We're excited to be here.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, before the company. And this question is to both of you. What was your childhood like in Nigeria? And what did each one of you want to be as a child?
Yeah. I,
Philip?
I can jump in. Yeah. Yeah. Childhood in Nigeria was like a combination of like a very fun and serious, if I was to put it that way. It's hard. Those are the two words that cross my mind when I think of childhood. Fun in the sense that we live in a very communal setup, so there were other kids around, so there was always, people to play with, fun things to do around the neighborhood, and so on and so forth, with friends, with my siblings. Then serious in the sense that my household was quite strict
Mhm.
about, you know, just the values, religion, going to church, like reading, all that kind of stuff. So it was a combination of both. Um, and then this phase I'm talking about is like, let's say, primary school phase, age, let's say 6 to 12. And then if I think of childhood in two phases, the other phase, like adolescence up to 18, was definitely a lot more serious, I would say, because by then I was in secondary school, scholarship, and spent most of my time, I guess, in that phase just hanging with guys who focused on their books, like our parents would put it. So that's kind of childhood in the nutshell. Yeah.
So your parents were very happy with you as a kid.
I would say yes. In different phases. I would say
Okay.
early phase they were very happy. There was a brief period where they were like, we don't know what to do with this boy. Um, maybe like, the usual rebellious early teenage years and whatnot. Um, but it wasn't anything serious. And as for just like playing video games and they didn't like that kind of stuff. Um, outside of that, as for what we wanted to be growing up, I know in between age 6 to 12, there was a time I wanted to be a farmer. I thought farmers like they control all the food and whatnot. I wanted to do that. Um, Grow my own food, sell food kind of thing. So from that, but then in secondary school, it's changed. The influence around me was made me really think about engineering. So I always wanted to be an engineer when it came down to it. What kind of engineer I wasn't really set on super early on, but I knew for sure that I didn't want to be a doctor. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
You
doctor.
said you didn't want to be a doctor?
Yes, that I knew from an early day, like from early on rather, that I didn't want to be a doctor or anything related to medicine and all that. Yeah.
Why
And
is that?
why? Yeah.
just the sight of blood for me, like I
Wow.
couldn't, yeah. I
I'm
knew
saying wow
it's
because it's
very
exactly like me too.
Oh,
Same thing.
interesting.
Yes.
yeah, like the sight of blood, all those kind of stuff made me very uneasy as a child. And so I just couldn't shake. I was like, I don't see myself like trying to deal with this every day, like, oh, treating sick patients and whatnot. Yeah. So
Yeah.
which
Plus
is
one.
opposite of what African parents would want. They want you to be a
Exactly.
doctor if you're doing well in school and all that. But
Exactly.
engineering is also not too far off. Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting that you're agreeing with him, Tolu, that you also had one thing that you didn't want to be. And then you both kind of, so I guess like, it was always a great fit, your collaboration. So anyway, tell us, Tolu, what was growing up in Nigeria? Where did you grow up in Nigeria? What was that like? And what did you want to be if not a doctor?
I grew up in Abuja. Abuja is the state capital, much more peaceful than Lagos, which I love Abuja for the fact that it's very, very peaceful. Um, Growing up, definitely multiple phases as well, but the main phase that I remember was, I would say, more on the intense side, more on the intense side, both from school and just from life and struggles. It wasn't always like didn't always struggle when we're growing up, but there was a period where like things changed and it was pretty hard, like from a financial perspective, for a long time, in my childhood. So at that point, like we all had to, I mean, take school much more seriously, and my parents are also like pretty transparent, so like it was obvious like we're going through this situation, so everybody just like had to readjust things. So that was pretty tough, and that was pretty much for the rest of my childhood. So in terms of school, I was always I was always a pretty serious child. I cared a lot about school. I cared a lot about math. I cared a lot about doing well in school. I like to think it's me being like I was middle child for a long time. I feel like that was like the one thing I had to be seen. So I'm like, okay, this is the way I can be seen. So I'm just gonna keep caring about school and doing really, really well so that I can be seen in the midst of the first child and the only son. I need to be seen too. So I think that was where that came from. But I also just really, really liked school, and and I did well at it. So that was fun. That was definitely a fun. That was my fun actually, like doing well in school, going to competitions, winning stuff. That made childhood really fun, despite some of the financial troubles. So that was childhood. Also, like being very close with my siblings. My mom like really made sure we all grew up very close. We're very close till now. So that part was fun as well, being very close. Of course, we'll get into like fight here and there, but like we're always really, really close. And despite like during the periods of struggles, that was really awesome. And it brought us much closer together. The fact that we were close was awesome. That's what I mean. Yeah. So that was good. In terms of what I wanted to be, for a period, I was quite fascinated by space. And then I wanted to be an astronaut. So I used to spend a lot of time reading stuff about space and being an astronaut and whatnot. Then after some years I switched up and I said, okay, maybe not astronaut. I want to be an aeronautical engineer. The person who like builds the aircraft, which or the planes. So that was also interesting. It never like computer engineering or science never really crossed my mind until I came to the US. It was until I came to the US that really dawned on me. But yeah, I was very interested in flying and space stuff in my early days. Yeah.
No.
Fascinating. I think what I'm hearing from both of you is like there was this drive. Like maybe I don't know. Let me know if this resonates, right? There were some seeds in your childhood that maybe are related to you becoming entrepreneurs in this chapter of your lives, right? Philip, you talked about wanting to be a farmer because you wanted to be self-sufficient. You wanted to control food.
Mhm.
Um, and in some ways, being an entrepreneur rather than working for somebody else in their company is a little bit of that, right? Being self-sufficient, being able to control and maybe create opportunities for others that you care about.
Yeah.
And to Lou also, your family being transparent about, financial struggles when that was the reality of your family. Do you feel like that maybe gave you an impetus to sort of be somebody who's like independent of other people for a living?
Oh, I mean, definitely. Like from childhood, I've been very, very, I mean, independent. And even moving to the US, not really knowing anyone, going to a school, city, state, like I didn't know anybody. I've had to be independent. But I would say that part wasn't necessarily very connected to entrepreneurship for me. It was more so like, yes, I need to find a job and be independent. Because even with the 9 to 5, like one can still be independent. But there were other parts of childhood that definitely contributed to the entrepreneurship side. Just like my mom, for example, is like the number one entrepreneur right now. She, run like especially during the struggle, she would just like run different businesses and help us actually survive. So that part was like, okay, yeah, that's like the first place I learned what starting running a business is, challenges, potential risks, and also like the highlights as well.
Yeah.
And Philip, that's actually true for your family as well, right? Your mom has always been an entrepreneur.
Exactly, 100%. So entrepreneurship is something I got introduced to very early on, right? And I remember my first feeling of selling something for profit as a child. It felt really good. It felt really good. Like there were different things we would sell just to support our mom, right? Because she tried different small businesses, selling kerosene in the neighborhood, selling cooked food, selling sachet water, all kinds of stuff that people needed that she would buy and sell. And for me, I remember the distinct one I recall is in primary school, there used to be these magazines with it's kind of like mimicked after comic books, but the characters were football players
Hmm,
or buy them and sell and make extra naira here and there. And it felt really good. And so growing up, that has always been, entrepreneurship had always been at the back of my mind. It's like, okay, no matter what I do, I want to be in a place where I actually have something on the side where I kind of control it and I'm using that to either create value or something in exchange for money. Yeah.
that's fascinating. Could you both tell me a little bit about your journey from Nigeria to the US? What made you apply to US colleges? What was that? What was what opened up this opportunity for you to go abroad? And overall, what do you think of that experience in terms of its impact on your life today?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I know that for me, when I was in high school, I always just had this dream of studying outside of Nigeria. I didn't really know where I was gonna go, but I just felt like, oh, I could get better education and maybe not deal with some of the things I saw on TV and the hassle if it was abroad, right? And yes, of course, like, the US, the UK, Canada, all these countries were top of mind, but I was like pretty much open until this one guy in my high school. Um, I mean, I still know him till today, but this one guy who was really smart, was like 2 years or 3 years more senior than I was. He got a full scholarship to Amherst. And when I heard about it, I'm like, oh my God, this is possible. This guy who I know in the flesh, and I've walked past him before. Even though I haven't really spoken to him, I know he's a real person. And I know no one, it's not like someone is telling me this happened. Like I know this guy and it happened. So this is possible. And it's the same school, boy, going to a public school. Maybe it happens for people in private schools, and people might say it doesn't happen to people in public schools, but I have this example, I have this guy, so I can do this too, right? So for me, that was very, very inspirational. And that's the thing I held on to. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing well in school because this guy was also very good in school. And then I'm going to like try to find similar opportunities that he did so that I can also apply and see what happens. So that was how I got connected to the US Embassy in Abuja. And then they had this like program that you join there and they help you prepare for SATs, they help you apply to schools, which is what this other guy did. So I went through that program, and actually I went through that whole program for a year after school. So I took a gap year after high school, just applying, focusing on SATs while also playing basketball. And things didn't work out. Things didn't work out for me. Like in terms of I got into some schools, but I didn't get a full scholarship. So for me, it's like you got to get a full scholarship or you're not going, because if it's not full, if it's partial or zero, you can't go. So in as much as I got I got admitted into a school, I couldn't go. So that was very, very sad for me for that first year. And then I had to do the whole process again, like go through a second year, gap year. I mean, I filled my time with lots of basketball, and that was actually really awesome. I was just like doing stuff on the basketball side, which was cool. But I did another year, and then things worked out, and then I went to Grinnell. So that's a high level summary of my journey from, yes, I want to travel, and I don't know how it's going to happen, to finding this inspirational example, and then like actually putting in the work, and it not necessarily going right the first time, but just staying persistent until it went the way I wanted it to go.
Awesome.
So inspiring. And Philip, you've told the story in like, when we're filming Brief Tender Light about how you had actually like applied to Nigerian universities, but they rejected you, and then MIT said yes to you. Can you
Yeah.
tell, maybe include that in the story you tell about your journey?
Yeah, so mine was completely unexpected, to be honest, in the sense that I lived in Kano, and for those who know Nigeria, when international organizations are doing things in Nigeria, usually it stays in places like Lagos or sometimes Abuja, right? Those are kind of like where there's that presence for programs like the type that would maybe even grant people opportunities of studying abroad. So in my own case, the the story behind it was that I had this habit of reading all old newspapers that my mom would use for her business. She would sell fried foods. So you wrap it in newspapers. My own habit was every time we bought a bunch, I read everything before we use them. And it was
Such
in
a
one
nerd. I love it.
it was like my source of not necessarily fresh news, but at least it was news, in a way. And I read about this guy, John Yusufu, who's actually still out here in Boston, and read that he had like 9 A's in the West African standard exam, and he was like the overall best in West Africa. And that really lit a bulb in my head. I was like, oh my God, this is even possible. There's such a thing as the West African overall, whatever thing. Okay, that's what I want. And so that became some kind of obsession for me, to be honest. Like, and it's the ripple effect was better grades in school and whatnot, and led to me even taking my West African exam a year early because I
Mhm.
just wanted to like test it out and see. So in summary, I took that exam. The results came out. Didn't necessarily get 9 A's, but I got a very good number of A's out of it. Scored pretty well across many subjects, especially the core sciences. And that led a classmate, to tell me about this program at the in the Abuja embassy. The same one that Tolu mentions, where people are given the opportunity to apply to American schools. So yeah, so in summary, basically, I did take the West African exams early. The original goal, to be honest, was go to a Nigerian school, try as much as you can to secure scholarship, because that was what the thing was in the place where I grew up. They'll talk about these guys that are like top guys in the Nigerian university who live like kings because they get these massive scholarships from like multinationals
Mm.
fund their education. I was like, okay, that is my own route because things are not so great at home and there's no way we'll be able to afford university education. But the flip side of, I guess, it went way beyond that, beyond my own imagination, because then I heard about this program, got into that program, got the opportunity again, a gap year from when I finished high school to applying to American schools. And around that same time, I also applied to Nigerian schools in parallel. And that's when the bad news happened. I scored really, really well on the national JAM, they call it Joint Matriculation Exam JAM. So I had more than enough points to get into any school in the country in engineering. I still didn't make it into ABU Zaria that I applied to that year. It was very devastating because I'm like, well, how am I going to secure the scholarship I need now? You know, but then at that same time, I also got into MIT. So, I mean, you can imagine the relief at the time.
For
Yeah.
sure. From maybe like is it even $10,000 worth scholarship for ABU Zaria all 4 years to like a hundred, two
You
hundred
get,
thousand
oh
dollar
my
scholarship.
God.
Yeah, that's
It
awesome.
was insane. And I remember that feeling, 2011, the feeling of going to check the online portal for the Nigerian schools and not seeing my name on the admission list. But and then getting into MIT like a few weeks later. It was around the same month or so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very grateful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm hearing the power of representation, information, right? Having information flow to people so that they know what opportunities exist in the world, and seeing people like you, people from your neighborhood access those opportunities. That's very powerful in kind of showing young people, especially, that they too belong in certain spaces. Thank you so much for opening up and sharing those details of your lives. Um, would you say, could you have launched Cleva right after college, or were there other turning points in your lives that were essential to Cleva's success?
I mean, for me personally, in as much as in my head, I would have loved to, just from a start early perspective, but I definitely believe I needed more time, more experience, more building of my network in order to, yeah, to launch Clever. Me personally, yeah.
No. Mine would have, it was, the answer is no, I wouldn't have been able to, and it was about money. Uh,
Mm,
right after school, I needed to make money. I had this massive responsibilities on my shoulders, siblings, this and that. So my focus at the time was, you know, okay, go get a job, earn well, take care of like the more immediate needs of the family, and then eventually, like, you can come back and try to start something. To be honest, it ended up playing out much better that way because the experiences we've had working across different companies have been like quite relevant to how we build and run Clever today. So I'm grateful that I actually took this route as opposed to, let's say, rushing in straight from undergrad. Perhaps things would have worked out too because we would work hard and still try to figure out a way, but it would have definitely been a lot more challenging. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
plus one. Sorry, I forgot who I am and who I was. How dare I leave school to go dive into a startup? That would be extremely selfish, and I will get a lot of like, yeah, yelling by my family for sure, which I will probably deserve. But yes, very, very great point. Very great point. That part with visa as well. Like literally, like
Exactly.
can't be going on OPT to go, like,
There were
at least
all
not
these
then.
risks. Yeah. There were all
Yeah.
these risks that I remember even distinctly thinking, okay, my plan is to get a job, get to a more permanent status and access to the US, then take riskier bets because if I try to do it now and it doesn't work out, I might lose a lot, basically. Yeah.
Wow, that's great insights. Could you both walk me through the origin story of Cleva? I've read or maybe I've heard in videos and things about an all-nighter where you guys were brainstorming about what, the startup idea was going to be. And then you picked this one, right? Why did you pick this of all the ideas that were on the table? And, just tell us a little bit more about how Cleva began.
Hmm. Philip, you want to take this one? Should I take this one?
Yeah, just you can go for it.
Okay. Yeah, after I quit my job, I remember spending a couple weeks. My goal was actually to spend a couple months just thinking of things to work on. But after a month, I got bored and was ready to dive in. I'm like, I can't just be waking up doing nothing. Like, I know people told me I need to rest, but I'm done resting. Um, I'm done resting. I need to dive in. So that's when I put together a list of, okay, if I want to start this thing. I believe I need somebody on the technical side who can be a co-founder. So let me look at my network and put together a list of potential people that I can reach out to. I put together my list, of which Philip was on that list. And I'm like, okay, let me talk to my brother. So I reached out to my brother. My brother, just for high level context, similar journey as me and Philip as well, came to the US on scholarship. So he's also technical, very technical. So he has a whole network of technical people. So I reached out to him. I'm like, this is the list of people I have. What do you think? He's like, oh, Philip has been talking to me about starting a company. And Philip is really awesome. You should actually follow up. You should check with Philip. I'm like, okay, I haven't really spoken to Philip in a while. Can you help me check with Philip first? And then he reached out to Philip, I guess. And then he reached out to me. He's like, yes, Philip is down to chat. And that was it. I reached out to Philip and I told him, hey, I have all these, different ideas, but I'm not sure. And I want us to actually both agree on something together. So it's not just like, oh, Tolu came up with this idea and like is looking for somebody to go along the ride. So we went on that journey together and we started with this empty Google Doc. We always like to talk about empty Google Doc and just trying to like put different things in there, put a bunch of different ideas in there. And then I even went to Nigeria at some point to do some research on, okay, what's going on? How would all these different ideas look like in Nigeria? Took some learnings from that. But eventually um, we actually landed on a version of Cleva that's slightly different from the Cleva that we have today.
Mhm.
But it's still along the lines of cross-border payments. And I believe the key reason me and Philip landed on cross-border payments is because it's been a personal problem for both of us ever since we've been in the US. It's a problem that's personal. We've had to always send money home for one reason or the other, and we've gone through many, many troubles and pains to send money home. And the market is also a large market. So it's a combination of personal problem that we care about. We want to solve for ourselves. We want to solve for a lot of people like us. And it's also a pretty big market. It can go in many different directions. So that both of those two things were interesting to us, and then we decided to dive in. Yeah.
Yeah. And other like concrete signals too, in addition to us thinking about it, we would see people complain on social media, like remote workers who would get gigs, but they hadn't been kicked off platforms that didn't quite understand Africans or Nigerians that well. And so they will be looking for solutions, immediate pain points to like basically anything that can allow them receive funds from their clients through Upwork and whatnot. So those were the signals we looked at. Say, okay, no, let's start with this and then we'll see where it goes.
I see. And am I right in understanding that Philip, you knew Tolu's brother from childhood? Did you go to school together? Well, I'm trying to figure out like I guess it's for me it's like the personal network, right?
Yeah.
Is interesting and you grew up together, you go through the experiences together.
It's through that program. So basically, Daniel is one of the first friends I made when I showed up in Abuja for the program that got me into American schools. Because he was there the year before me, and he was in the cohort that was leaving in 2010, and we were the cohort that was coming in 2010. It's 2010, 20, I'm mixing the dates now,
Yeah,
but yeah, he was in the year before me. So we met and became friends. And then when we moved to the US, we all still stayed in touch. And as of that time when Tolu actually reached out, he had been living, he was my neighbor in Cambridge. So we were always hanging out and doing things together because he was a grad student at Harvard at the time.
I see. Okay,
So,
great.
but we had, as of then, we had known each other for literally, what, over 10 years.
Right.
So that
Yeah,
point.
great. And sort of had grown up professionally together too in
Yeah.
parallel. Um, so you come up with this idea, right, from personal experience and then also looking at the market and seeing that there is a large market opportunity. What do you do next, right? So what's the next thing that you did? Okay, we're doing a version of Clever that's maybe a little bit different from but it's a cross-border payment solution. Um, I think I've seen online that you mentioned that you applied to Y Combinator and then got turned down, but eventually got in, right? So what happened in between the moment you conceptualized that idea? How did you try to kind of gain momentum? And what was it that made Y Combinator eventually say yes, even though they had turned you down before?
Yeah, so when we decided to start, of course, Philip was going to be on the technical side and building stuff, but like only one person, and he was like still transitioning from his full-time job. But only one person wasn't going to be able to do it. So first thing was, okay, let's get like at least one other person to jump in and even help us like with the website so that we even have something to talk about. And that's where me and Philip put together our personal funds. We just bootstrap. We hired a couple people in Nigeria, and then we started making progress. Then it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, these personal funds are about to run out. It's not sustainable. We need to get some small capital to at least like keep this thing going. And then we started looking online and we found like Google Accelerator. I'm forgetting what they call it, like Google Africa, and then a bunch of AWS even had some stuff. So we're like, oh, let's even apply to these things. YC wasn't even open at that point. But then, we rallied, we had to put together a website so that you can actually apply. And then we didn't get into any of these things. And then we applied to YC, we put together a demo very quickly. We had an interview with YC, and then they were not feeling the initial idea that we had. They were like, no. Like, we really like you guys, but no. So that was really sad. And then I remember after the interview and we got the email that it's a no. Me and Philip got on a call, we were so sad. But like the different stages of grief. We're like, okay, sad. And then we're like, you know what? We don't need YC anymore. We got this. Let's just dive in and let's keep pushing. We don't even need YC. In my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, boss. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's keep making progress. And then after we got more people on the team, then we started making progress towards launch. At that point, we knew, okay, we actually need to raise some capital. And we actually did get one investor who in the very, very early days, like this guy and his fund invested in us. And they were the ones that actually got us to launch. Without them, it would have been incredibly hard because we had no more capital. And we didn't have a product, right? So we are very, very, very grateful for our first investor. If he's watching this, thank you so much. So that got us to launch. Then after we launched, then we applied again for the next YC batch. And I believe that's that's what got YC to say yes. Being able to see the progress between the last time they said no and now that we applied again, they're able to see that we pressed ahead. Yes, we made a slight change in the business model. So that was like us taking feedback from them, taking feedback from the market. They like to see that. But we also launched. We had some, even a small amount, but we had some customers. We had some revenue, transaction volume going. All of those things were really good because they already liked that team. So being able to show some progress on the business side was what really got us across the line.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. What was it like to get that first customer?
Philip, yeah.
I mean, it felt magical, to be honest. Like I said, like the feeling of building something or just creating value for anyone and then like seeing them use it, get value out of it is such a great feeling. And so I remember, in fact, we had launched it. We didn't do any announcements or marketing or anything. We just like put the link out there and people found it, signed up on their own, completed KYC, just to confirm, again, a confirmation of the fact that, okay, you know what, this is a real problem people have and they're actively out there looking for solutions. So, I mean, it felt really amazing. We felt validated. It's not like you did all this work and now you have to go and throw it away because nobody wants to use it. You know, and yeah, I definitely found it very, very energizing to just want to go back, make the product iteratively better as quickly as possible. Yeah.
I see. What about your partnership makes it work? Why do you think you two are such good teammates?
I think there's the personal connection. There's that and like the want to maintain that relationship outside of Cleva. I think that has some part to it. I also think I know we didn't have exactly the same childhood, but even going through certain types of situations, similar situations, I think has been much more relatable for both of us. Like going through this whole US Embassy program to come to the US, having to send money home to support family. Those are like very, very similar experiences that we've had, so shared experiences. And then I would say like the fact that there's, very, very clear lines of separation between our roles and ownership. So it's not like, me and Philip are like, co-CTO or co-CEO, we're both writing code and I'm mistakenly deleting his code and he's overriding my code. That would be hilarious. It probably happens elsewhere, but at least we don't have those types of things. In as much as we still talk about stuff. So on the business side, like it's not just, Tolu making business decisions and Philip is like in one corner and doesn't know. No, like we still talk about things, we still align when it comes to like fundraising. We're always making sure that we're aligned in as much as there's a clear owner for certain things. Same thing on the technical side. Like I'm not going to be going into GitHub to review code and whatnot. I trust Philip to do that. But like if things come up, we still discuss. And then the last reason I will give is the fact that we both worked at Amazon, actually, because Amazon has these operating principles. And both of us, by virtue of working there, had to like imbibe these principles and we brought it into Cleva. And there's this thing that they say, disagree and commit. It's one of the principles, which is at Amazon, like they really encourage, be opinionated and you guys like you and different people like actually like argue it out and bring your point, let them bring their point. But at the end of the day, a decision should be made. Make a decision, commit to it and move on. So it's something that we do. Like many times, like decision making is very clear. Oh, this is technical. Oh, this is business. And most times like we align, move on. But in those cases where maybe we're not like fully on the same page, we talk about it, we share each other's points. It's not about who's winning the argument. But then at the end of the day, if it's a technical decision, Philip is going to make it. If it's more on the business side, okay, Tolu is going to make it. And then the other person, as long as we don't believe it's catastrophic to the business, you disagree, you commit, you move on. And it's never going to be like, oh, you made that decision and now it's terrible. Look at you. Like, no, that is not commit, right? So we disagree and we commit. So that part's having that like overlapping, like, operating principle from our time at Amazon has been really helpful too.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have anything to add. The operating principle, yeah, it's like a very big one. Yeah, and shared background experience. Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, sorry.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say personally, I think Tolu is a rock star operator. So it makes a lot of things just like, okay, like she is the CEO, she knows how to operate and all that. So I can lean on her for many things while I cover the other side. Because, I mean, like as I was saying in the beginning, running a startup is crazy. Lots of different, very important things going on all the time. And we're able to that split responsibilities well and focus on different domains.
Okay, so clear
Well fun.
boundaries.
Yeah.
And then maybe this culture that you borrowed from Amazon of not being afraid to disagree, right? There's beauty in disagreement, or there could potentially be strength from disagreement if you approach it not from a competitive place, but a place of like, okay, there's something here to mine to better our company. So what are some things so that's one example of something from your past work experience that you brought to your company. Philip, could you talk a little bit about something that you rejected or maybe you put aside and you're doing differently in your company that you've seen done and that's for Tolu as well, in the companies that you've worked in?
Yes, for the thing I've brought in, I'll definitely say, like she already mentioned, operating principles from Amazon has been quite relevant to how we run our processes at Cleva. From the technical side, I mean, like I did get to build a lot of very important things while I was at Amazon from scratch, and that experience alone has been quite relevant to building from scratch again at Cleva. Um, and so that I can speak to concretely. As for like something I didn't take, it's being very comfortable with giving negative feedback and giving negative feedback in a way that doesn't break someone, but actually enables them to be better. All right. I feel like in my experience at previous companies was such that either they won't share negative, they won't say anything. So, and that leaves you with very little room to actually grow because you don't really know what you're doing wrong. So, avoiding that kind of setup where either feedback comes when it's kind of late or people are not sharing it when they have like something that's not so positive to share. So, being very transparent with engineers, letting them know where they're doing great, where they're not doing so great upfront has been something I decided to do differently from my experience at other places.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I mean, very similar in terms of what I brought, same thing, operating principles. And actually, between Amazon and Stripe, they actually do have a few operating principles in common. So that was good. That was good for me as well. I would say like customer obsession, both Amazon and Stripe, incredibly customer obsessed. And that's something that's, Philip cares a lot about. I care a lot about. That's our number one principle at Cleva. So that part, like, and always like going back to a bunch of things that Jeff Bezos would say, some, on YouTube, some it was at Amazon, just going back to that whole spirit of customer obsession is something we do quite often at Cleva. So that's a big one that we've brought in. Something I don't want to bring is, I would say like politics. Never something I was good at at Amazon or at Stripe. I mean, people do it. I just care about my work. I care about building stuff, solving problems. I don't care about politics. I haven't been good at it when I said, oh, let me even try and care. And it's something that I really don't want at Cleva. I just want people to care about me and Philip try to do is we try to reward people who do a very good job of the work, not, eye service or like that. Like, no, we need to see that there's concrete outcome or output and let other people be able to see it, right? We try to, embrace or encourage visibility and transparency. Let other people see that you're producing. So like when, good things are happening for you, it's very clear. No one's going to be like, oh, some politics going on. No, it won't be that way. So that's an important thing for us at Cleva.
Yeah, that's great. So since you talked about customer focus, I think your marketing is really fresh, fun, and warm. When I watch what you're doing online and how you're messaging about your company. I have this image of Cleva as one that's that has transparency, it's accessible, it doesn't feel like off to the side and like too fancy for anyone. So it's accessible and it's also collaborative, is what I sense. For example, at the end of year one, you created this short documentary film about your year in which you featured your team, your story. And I've also seen you on social media kind of work with what I assume are influencers to sort of market your products and maybe tell your story in a way that's accessible, funny, fun. Who's doing Cleva's marketing? And then why is telling Cleva's story in this way important to you?
I mean, I can't give up our secrets, but
A little hint.
just a little bit. Our great marketing team, right? Our great marketing team. We have a great marketing team, and the original marketing person was me. I'm kidding, kidding. Of course, it was me, but it was when it wasn't good. That was when it wasn't good, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't. I'm not good at marketing, and then I hired the first marketing person and he did a very, very good job. It was a one man show, and then we gradually scaled it, added a couple people to help with different things as well, and they've been doing a really good job. And I would say like, I mean, life is intense. Life is hard. Building a startup is intense. It's hard. And we know that they're going to be competitors. We know they're going to be, many, many other apps trying to do what we're trying to do. So how can we be different? How can we be unique? That's the angle where we, take and we look at, okay, how can we be fun, but yet not lose, like, how can we be fun, but also a bit like, premium? How do we balance being fun with, something that can also give people FOMO, right? Not just like some basic product because we're trying to be fun. So there's that. That's like always a very tough thing to balance that we go through at Cleva. But we want to be relatable to our customers. We want them to, try to like to actually believe that we care about their use case, like that we're like them or they're like us. We care about those things because in fact, like, yeah, we are like them and they are like us in reality. So we try to bring that into our marketing. We also try to experiment and try new things. Philip, me, the marketing team, we come up with ideas. We're like, you know what? It doesn't hurt. Let's try this out. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, let's try it out and let's see if it picks up. So there's some things we've done that hasn't worked, and there's some other things we've done that has really, really worked. And then we continue to double down. So that's like working with influencers, for example. There are many different types of influencers. There are some we've worked with where it's like, okay, this didn't really work out. This person went off and started saying things that we don't offer. And there's some other influencers where it's like, oh, wow, really, really jives with the brand and the types of people that follow them and what Cleva is trying to do. So let's do more of this type of stuff. We know we can't be the only people to spread the word of Cleva. So we need to like find partners and other people who can help spread the word, but we need to be very, very strategic with how we do that. So overall, like marketing is always a challenge. Marketing is something that you just have to try many different things, see what works, what doesn't work. But it's also fun. We try to have fun with it as well, and also like do fun stuff for our audience. So I'm glad that you are enjoying what you're seeing, and we hope to keep doing more of it.
I am. I absolutely am. And I'm inspired by you. It's like some of your storytelling. In the whole as an indie filmmaker also applying for things all the time, there's lots of rejection, but reading things like, in my view, you're building a great company. You've shown great traction. Your people are resonating with your work. But then to read that at the beginning, you were rejected by, Y Combinator and then reapplied and then got in and all that. It's very inspiring to be. I mean, I know that sometimes you have to try a few times and show growth, but it's inspiring to kind of be in the cohort of people that are trying and not giving up, right? And so you take inspiration from each other. Philip, what's one technical decision that you and your team have made that maybe users will never see, but without which Clara wouldn't survive?
I would say
Not
behind,
not not the secret sauce.
yeah, speaking high level. So
Okay.
something broke in 2024 that led to prior to it breaking, we had a manual process for like verifying some customers and whatnot. And then we had a flood of customers that came in on this one day. And it was taking so long for us to go through the backlog. And so that was a pain we needed to solve very quickly. And we assembled kind of like a tiger team or whatever you want to call it and attacked the problem and built out this really nice process, automated process that has scaled quite well ever since. And so we've had even bigger kind of sign up, how do I call it? Like a thunderstorm of customers coming in, sign up around the same time. And there have been times where we only realized that in retrospect because the system scaled well and did what it was supposed to do without repeating the problem we had in 2024. So it's something I look at to say, you know what, well done, team. We're doing something
Pat on
serious.
the back.
Yeah.
100%. Well done. And you worked really, really hard during that period. Lots of sleepless nights. And
Yeah.
me being like, Philip, move faster. But lots of sleepless nights that period. Yeah, well done. Well done to you and the team.
And Tolu, when you think about Clever's early days, right, what product decision are you still proud of today?
Hmm. I would say like there's a decent number. Some is like, yeah, just you just had to move fast and now we're making it better. But one feature that I'm really proud of is our loyalty program. We call it Clever Points. Yeah, I'm really, really proud of it. It's something at the time we launched something new, very different in our space. Like no one's doing that. And we wanted it to be unique. Even now, it's like, I mean, yeah, now there's some other people doing it in the space. But even the way we approached it, the way we designed it, the way we communicated, all those different things like took a lot of effort and thinking. And yeah, for me, that has been my proudest and most exciting thing that I've done from a product perspective. Yeah, like I would like just wake up from sleep thinking about this thing, go jot down my ideas and like try it out. Yeah, it was actually like really, really, really fun. And it's still something that, will continue to improve and we still have a lot of ideas to improve as well. But yeah, it's really, really fun one.
And currently, Clever has 700,000 customers and counting. This is just in Nigeria alone right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in
And
Nigeria. Yeah.
okay. And so what's next for, I guess, first of all, are you surprised by what you've accomplished in about 2.5 years? And what's next for Clever?
I mean, this question of am I surprised is a very interesting one because it's both for me. It's yes and no. Definitely, part of me is like every time we've had like some growth spurts, I'm always like, whoa, I didn't expect this to happen. Really cool. But then some other times I'm like, come on, 1 million, 2 million, we can do this. So there's like this healthy balance, I guess, if you say so. But always grateful for where we are. I'm grateful for where we were, grateful for where we are now. Very much grateful because it could be a different situation. So that part's exciting. In terms of what's coming, yeah, we have some exciting stuff this year. Maybe I'll give this one to Philip, in terms of some of the things coming that we can share. But very excited about the year. There's always things to try, bets to make. You never know what the outcome would be, but even the process of making those bets is also a very exciting process.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like one of the things we're excited about, again, expanding to new markets, to try to replicate the success we've had in Nigeria in these other new markets and see how that goes. We know that nothing is set in stone, but we really want to try and see, to see how that goes. As for like the product side, um, now I'm having to think because we don't want the we don't want to give out the secret sauce yet, but like we're looking to just make our products better, right? Today we have features like virtual cards that people use. We know the things that can be better about that. And we're actively working to come up with something significantly better this year. Both from many angles, and we think our customers are going to appreciate the change. Um, Other things we're doing, these are more internal. There are like more internal focused things that will help us be more efficient, right? We care very, very deeply about efficiency. And so at least if there's anything that keeps me up at night, that's one of those like, okay, how do I make the engineers ship faster, do high quality work and so on and so forth. And so this year we have some things planned internally that I think can help us get there faster than we did in 2025 and even better than 2024.
So Philip, from what I know about you, you've always wanted to honor your mom's work in raising you and your siblings, right? That's something you always talked about when we worked together on the film Brief Tender Light.
Mm.
And this question is to both of you. What do you think your parents, what do your parents think about what you've built with Cleva?
To be honest, my mom, I think at this point, it's hard for her she's like, how much more can you do or surprise me, at this point? And so she's been honestly extremely proud, right, of like the work we've done, partly because the problems we're solving, people like her use it. There are people like her, moms who use our product, and my sister is a customer. Some of my family members are customers. And so my mom gets to see us talk about it concretely in that way, like the features we built and stuff. So she's been very, very proud. I think at this point, she's just like, look, Philip, there's nothing else that you can show me, just may God continue to reward your efforts. So it's more like
Oh,
prayers for every new direction we want to go into now. That's where she's at. But she's definitely very happy that, we continue to take, calculated risks, try different things, continue to try to push beyond whatever level we've come to so far. Yeah.
yeah.
And Tolu?
Yeah, in terms of family, I would say definitely there's the pride. There's the pride from my mom, my dad, my siblings, and I really appreciate that. Really appreciate their support. But there's also oh my God, Tolu, you work too much. You work too much. Like my mom will be like, Tolu, this is very serious. You've not eaten. You work too much. When are you gonna work less? Like, I don't know, but like we're making progress. And then my mom, since the beginning, she would always be like, okay, I'm sure that as you grow, you'll be able to hire people and then you'll be able to work less. And in the early days, I would be like, oh yes, I think so too. So let's just get to that point. But now, when she says it or anybody else says it, I just say, okay, okay. But in my heart, I'm like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. More money, more problems, right? So the problems don't go. It doesn't work that way. Like you hire more people, they bring, they're great, but that also comes with its own costs. And then you have more customers, and that comes with its own thing. And you can't just hire the problem away, or at least maybe some people do, but that's not the right approach, and that's not what we do. So you still gotta like work a lot. But the good part is that we're putting in all this effort and it's something fulfilling, it's something we enjoy despite the complexities. So that part just keeps us motivated to keep pushing. Yeah.
Okay. And if there was if you had a chance to speak to maybe high school or college age Tolu and Philip, right? If you had them watching this video right now, what would you want them to know? And what would you warn them about?
Mm.
Wow.
That one, I've been thinking about it. I'm like, what would I want to know? So I know that if I look at it from the perspective of the things I wanted to do in 2015 that were kind of out of reach, at least from my perspective, because I didn't have the right visa status and whatnot, right? I know that was like some serious concern I had at the time. So now that I have it, I guess it would be more like, relax. It's gonna be okay. Take it easy, don't let it stress you so much. Um, and yeah, so that would be something, I guess it's in a way just related to the concern, like the primary concern I had around 2015, 2016.
Which
Um,
is when you graduated from college, right?
when I graduated from college, exactly, started working in the industry, actively was looking for employers that would sponsor the green card and so on and so forth. Um, and just, so yeah, and then maybe it will be also take crypto engineering more seriously. You know, I wanted to dabble in, I didn't take it as seriously. Now it's like super important and whatnot. So in retrospect, I should have taken it much more seriously back then. Um, and if there's any warning, it will be less of a one and more like advice I'll give myself is to become much more financially literate earlier on. Like there were things I learned and I learned them the hard way. It didn't need to be that hard. And so it's like, okay, becoming more like more knowledgeable about the stock market and this and that and all these investment strategies, trade-offs and whatnot, super early on would have also been very useful. Yeah.
Do you think that you lacked, or maybe you were slower to learn those things because they were just more alien to you? Because I relate to that as well. I mean, there's just so much about finance, like, personal or family finance that I didn't have because I came from a different context. I came from Ghana to the US. I didn't have a family that, dealt with like stocks, like 401k and all of that, and knew that, in a downturn in the economy, you invest more in the stocks because they're going to come up, just like things like that, right? Is it from that perspective? And how could you have made up for that lack of maybe mentorship from like a family or personal history growing up?
Yeah, I would say maybe my opportunity would have been maybe taking some courses during college, not outside of just engineering, to kind of learn more about finance and just these markets and how things like this worked. I think having that kind of knowledge while when I graduated and started working would have been directly relevant, probably close some of the gaps I had. There was definitely a mindset gap too. I didn't, to be honest, I don't, I care about money, but not so much. Likely because I guess I also didn't grow up with a lot of money, so it wasn't really, so that influenced a lot of decisions I made post graduation. I was, I'll always make more money in the future, so let me do all these different things now. Whereas if you think structurally about compounding and how compounding works, perhaps you make different decisions as of then. Yeah. So things like that. Yeah, that mindset. Um,
Okay. And Tolu, what would you say to young Tolu, if you have a
Hmm.
chance, or maybe to founders coming up, especially immigrants and Africans?
Two different ones. To young Tolu, I feel like I always think about this now that at every point in my life in the past, I was always stressed. There was always something that was like, oh my God, this is, this is the most important thing to me, and it's not working, and I need to fix it. I need to do that. I need to find a job. Oh, now I found the job. Oh, I need to do a good job at this job. Oh, basketball. Oh my God, I need to do a good job. Like there was always something that was stressing me out. And now with the different categories of problems and challenges that we have as just like growing a startup, I look back and I'm like, wow, I had no problems. I was living the life when I was in college. Why did I think I was stressed? And when I was in business school, why did I think I was stressed? Because maybe someone didn't, I don't know, talk to me or whatever. Like, no, I was living the life. So I wish I could just, tell myself at multiple moments, like, it's gonna be okay. Like this is a problem for now, and you're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna be okay. Same thing in 5, 10 years. I'm sure I'm gonna be looking at Tolu of 2026, like, oh, whoa, like I'm sure it's always like that, right? So same thing to me now. Like it's gonna be okay. This is a challenge for now, work through it, keep pushing like you've done in the past and you continue to do. So that's just like some motivational thing I tell myself. And yeah, I want to tell founders out there, you might be trying to start a company and it's probably really hard. You're trying to figure out what even idea to work on, how to find people to work with, how to get your first customer. And at that point in time, like that is the most intense and serious problem. And you're stuck, but don't worry, it's going to be okay. And you will move past it and you will move to, other highlights and other challenges, but you will move past that moment. So that would be my word to founders, like just keep pushing, keep working hard, and yeah, keep making progress. And if there's anything else I will add, also like, talk to people that you respect, people that you admire. I'm the kind of person, just like when I was in high school, and it was important for me to see this one guy who went to the US and I could, latch on to that as inspiration. I encourage founders out there to like, you look for your own source of inspiration. And try to talk to the person or just like watch their videos if you don't have access to them, and actually latch onto it and see that, yeah, it's possible. The same way, some people might say Cleva is successful, but for me, there's like still much more we're trying to do. And I look at other founders who are like at places I want to get to, and I'm like, it's possible. it's very possible. So let's keep making progress and let's keep pushing. So that would be my word to founders out there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Philip, do you have any last piece of advice?
Last one would be, for one I'll just tell people to just figure out what their core values are and try as much as they can to act in alignment with those core values, because at the end of the day, whichever domain you pick, whether you're working at a startup, whether you're at your job, when you have, I guess the term I'm looking for is this, I learned about this Japanese term called ikigai, where it's like this state of existence where what you do day to day aligns with like your core values. So like your passion from your work, what you do for money, what you spend your time on, and so on and so forth. It's like this inner peace you feel because you're really living out based on your core values, right? And so I would tell younger folks to try as much as they can to figure that out for themselves, right? What are the things that they care about genuinely? Where do they feel most motivated? And try as much as they can to take risks to whatever is kind of necessary to move towards living out that core value. And I know for me, it's the reason why I was willing to like leave my job to go start something like Cleva, because I know that I care about creating opportunity for people. Other people did it for me. It's something I genuinely care about, that I'm passionate about, and I'm willing to take all these different risks to at least try to live out that belief I have. And then, of course, it's also this thing about core values of transparency and honesty and empathy and whatnot that I also have. We see it's reflected in the work we're doing at Cleva in terms of how we run the company, maybe even in the marketing that you see where we try to be more transparent than some other people who I shall not mention, just joking. But yeah, I found it to be very important and being a kind of like guiding light, listening to that inner voice and trying to align what I do with my core values. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, both. I could continue this conversation. I have so many other questions to ask, but I know you're very busy building Clever, in Cleva, no R at the end. And I wish you both so much success in your as you continue to grow the company. Thank you both so much for joining me and sharing this chapter of your life. Philip, we have worked together on a different chapter of your life, and here you are sharing your story again. Tolu, it's an honor to meet you today, and thank you for being so generous with sharing your life and your insights on the startup journey yourself. What I appreciate about this conversation is just how companies don't like just appear out of nowhere. They grow out of lived experience of like questions that you both have been working through your entire lives in some ways, unresolved tensions, and then long arcs of becoming. I hope this conversation is inspiring to people who will encounter it on life. This conversation will be available to watch and share, and if it resonated with you, I hope you'll pass it along to someone building, dreaming, or figuring things out across borders. This has been Yɛllɛ, conversations worth bringing home.
Thank you.
Yeah.